Welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us. It is officially USC week. It is here.
Yes.
Notre Dame fans, have I got some great news for you. I have got the certified #1 Chris Ash fan club member, Vince D'Addario, co-hosting the show with me today.
Wow. You went there. You went there on that one, didn't you?
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, well, I was doing great until that awesome introduction. Oh, it's going to be a great week, obviously.
Little inside joke. There was some texting going on earlier today, a little three-way text between Vince, myself, and my erstwhile son, who is still honeymooning.
I was going to say, he's still on
the south of France right now.
On the moon.
Yeah. I guess he is they're getting back into the States Friday.
Okay.
And then Saturday, they're going to the wedding of one of his groomsmen, who is in his wedding. They're going to that wedding. So, yeah, no rest.
Yeah, no kidding. It's going from wedding, honeymoon, wedding. Like, oh, to be young again.
That's right. All right. Well, we're going to hear for a lot of I'm messing with my volume here.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Monday.
Whoever's coming in this room on the weekends, we're going to have some problems. I don't know if it's Jim. I don't know if it's like someone below Jim, but levels are always off on Mondays. So I'm still figuring out if I can hear things right or not. Glad to have you with us, though. We've got a lot going on in today's show. There was bad officiating in Saturday's Notre Dame football game. It's like part 812 bad officiating, ACC. We will talk about that in rapid fire in the second hour of the show today. So you've got that to look forward to if that's what you want. We're going to start, though, with some unfortunate news, a couple injuries that we've got to talk about today for Marcus Freeman's press conference. One, we saw, I guess, happen on Saturday. Another one, it is kind of an update, unfortunately, and I just posted a story on it on the Irish Breakdown Champions Lounge, the premium Champions Lounge. You can read about it, but we're going to talk about it here. But we're going to start with Ashton Craig. Bad news for the center, Marcus Freeman. We saw Ashton Craig walk off the field Saturday in the win over NC State, and unfortunately, prognosis not good for Notre Dame center. Here's Marcus Freeman from earlier today.
Just, yesterday found out that Ashton Craig will be out for the remainder of the season. So he had a right knee injury, Phil, your thoughts go to the young man that worked so hard from last year after 3 games to get himself back into the position he was in this year and was playing extremely well for us, and just unfortunate for him. He's in great spirits. He'll, get healed up and look forward to the return of next year. He'll be ready to go. He's got the right mindset, and so just feel bad for the kid, but we'll be good. We've got to continue to move forward.
So this is 2 years in a row, unfortunately, for Ashton Craig to go out with an injury in really relatively early in the season. Both years, first 5 games of the season, Vince, really tough break for him. And this was a guy, we talked about Emil Wagner a lot like this last year, how Emil Wagner was essentially the guy who we never really had to talk about, which meant that he was by and large doing his job in 2024. And for this year's offensive line, that's really been Ashton Craig. We hadn't had to talk about him. Probably the most consistent guy. He and Schrouth I would put in there as well, but I think his consistency even more so, been really reliable in terms of snaps, something you didn't have to worry about, just really consistent. And obviously when you see a guy go down 2 years in a row with a season-ending knee injury, it's just really tough to see.
Yeah, I'm obviously a big Ashton Craig fan. I think he's a really, really good center, and to have this happen just is a blow. I mean, it's a blow to this offensive line. Didn't have an amazing day on Saturday. They had a good day. They did not have an amazing day. There was just some weird stuff that was going on with the offensive line. I mean, one of the times Ashton Craig got stepped on, and so then he falls backwards and allows his guy to go right into the lap of CJ Carr. And nothing he did. He got tripped, fell backwards. You know what I mean? And then the injury, when you watch it from the end zone view, I mean, his leg, it just looks like it gives out on him. Like he's holding, he's standing his ground, and then all of a sudden he's just like, bloop. I mean, it just gave out. So very unfortunate for him. And now Joe Otting is obviously going to have to step up.
Yes, and that's where we go next with comments from Marcus Freeman from his press conference earlier today. Joe Otting now at the top of the depth chart, and Marcus Freeman mentioned another guy in there as well.
Yeah, Otter's been practicing well, and in his opportunities up to this game has done a really good job. And then in his plays that he had in this game, he really played well. I probably had more confidence watching, evaluating this last game when he had to step up and go in there and get his job done, and he did a really good job. So there's a lot of confidence in Otter. Joe Otting, Cam Herron's done a really good job of developing as a young player, and in that whole O-line room. But there's a lot of confidence.
Joe Otting, pride of Topeka, Kansas, Topeka Hayden High School, the Catholic school there in Topeka, Vince. So guy with not a ton of experience, played a little bit last year. He's made a couple dabbles in a couple of games this year, and a lot is going to be on him now. Like, what do we know enough to even really, venture how we think this guy is going to play now down the stretch?
I would say no, but I would also say, when he came in on Saturday, he struggled. And I'm not going to throw a bunch of shade at a guy who came in, because of an injury and didn't do great. But he didn't do great. So he's obviously going to have to speed up that development here a little bit.
Yep.
If they're going to get to where they want to be. And look, the snaps were all good, I believe. I don't remember anything going low, high, left, right, or whatever.
And honestly, that's the most important part.
Yeah.
It's got to start with that.
Sure.
You got to snap it consistently.
Yep. So snaps were good. Execution not great when it comes to blocking and all of those different things. But again,
you still have to do that. Yeah.
He was a backup. He wasn't planning on playing yesterday, and so it's next man up. Obviously, their plan is not going to be to move anybody else around. They're just going to go to who was listed as the second string center, and that's Joe Otting. So he's going to get every opportunity to be successful here. So we'll see how it goes.
Yep. Absolutely. He is the next man in. Pat Coogan did a great job when he was called upon last year. So we'll see if Joe Rudolph has got Joe Otting ready to go. And it sounds like Cam Herron is kind of pushing back there as well. I know Brian Driscoll, and I believe this was even before the press conference. He had posted on the Irish Breakdown Champions Lounge about it. He'd like to see maybe everyone's whipping boy Anthony Knapp move inside and get a shot at center, and then they'll give you some other options on the outside. I don't know. What do you think about that? It doesn't sound like it's going to happen anytime soon.
So, I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, we're waxing poetic about something that's never going to happen. So that's
everyone's got ideas.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
move the left fielder to first base.
Right,
move the first baseman to catcher.
They're doing the least. They're doing what is the least. What's the word I'm looking for here? It's not going to affect the line as much.
Path of least resistance.
Correct.
Yeah.
They're just going to the second string center, and they're going to go from there. So anybody that has dreams of moving, Lambert out to left tackle, or Will Black, or what, all of the things, right? Like, none of those things are going to happen. Joe Otting is going to get an opportunity. He even mentioned Cam Herron as well. So he mentioned two different guys to take the center snap. So they're not even thinking about it.
Not named Anthony Knapp. Yeah. Right. There was no indication Anthony Knapp, they're thinking about Anthony Knapp at center. right now. Now, if I don't even want to say it, but like if something else happened or like things aren't going as well as you want, you do have a bye week, obviously. So you've got a couple of weeks in between games. Maybe you can look at some different things, but obviously they feel like Joe Otting is the way to go right now, and you do hope that he's able to kind of pick up the blocking and be a little bit more engaged there, since he's got a full week to prepare for USC now. Now, the big name that came up today, Charles Jagusah. He broke his arm in July in a UTV/ATV. I've seen both. I don't know what the difference is. The utility. I don't know exactly the difference between the U and the A in that instance, but
they're all four-wheelers. So
yes,
yeah.
Yes. The initial timeline for Charles Jagusah's return was the end of this month when he broke his arm in July. And there has been some rumblings for the past couple of weeks about whether or not Jagusah had re-injured that and what that meant for his prognosis. No one had ever brought this up to Marcus Freeman, so I asked him about it today to see what he would say about it. And here is what Marcus Freeman said about Charles Jagusah.
Yeah, he had a follow-up surgery a couple weeks ago just to, clean up some things in his arm. And it's going to be a process to get him back, but he is making positive strides. He will return at some point. I just don't know when it's going to be right now. He's just every day in that training room, in the weight room, trying to get stronger and healed up. And so when we find out that he's ready to go and can help us, we'll obviously utilize that information and make some decisions from there. But right now he's just in the process of rehabbing and healing up.
Okay, so again, that is Marcus Freeman on Charles Jagusah today. And Sean Kelly asking, is this different than the one he talked about before the season? You're shaking your head no. I mean, this.
Well,
he re-injured it, basically.
Yeah, he had a second surgery because it wasn't healing properly or whatever, but it's the same injury. I mean, it's all because of the ATV.
Yes, this is something that happened within the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
basically. This is not something that happened like a month after the surgery. This is recent. So, just to spell this out, I'll go ahead and play the cut for Marcus Freeman one more time.
Yeah, he had a follow-up surgery a couple weeks ago just to, clean up some things in his arm. And it's going to be a process to get him back, but he is making positive strides. He will return at some point. I just don't know when it's going to be right now. He's just every day in that training room, in the weight room, trying to get stronger and healed up. And so when we find out that he's ready to go and can help us, we'll obviously utilize that information and make some decisions from there. But right now he's just in the process of rehabbing and healing up.
I mean, Vince, the key phrase that I took from that, it's going to be a process to get him back. That's not something that's going to happen anytime.
He gave no indication of a timeline. Like,
exactly.
That's very, very telling in itself. But what I will say is if and when he does come back, that is going to be the only opportunity where you're going to see maybe the lineup get juggled up a little bit, because they're not going to put Charles at center. And I would be surprised at this point if they bench anybody that is currently playing tackle or guard on this team. I just don't see that being the case. So what do you do when Charles comes back? Do you put him at a guard and slide somebody over? Do you put him at tackle and slide somebody? So that's the only way, in my opinion, that they're going to kind of shake things up potentially on the offensive line and move some guys around maybe to a different position, but I don't see them doing it right now.
What do you think about, I saw something in there. Yeah, this one from Josh. He says, I'm a little surprised they aren't giving Absher a shot at center, because then obviously if you had Sullivan Absher at center, which he played in the spring, you could potentially move Gerby Lambert to right guard there. That would be different. I think it's just a matter of they watch these guys in practice every day, and it feels like they probably still feel like Absher is the better answer at right guard right now. And if you start moving guys around, like do you potentially get a little bit weaker at two spots as opposed to just one if you start moving guys in that, in that case?
Yeah, that would be the way that I would have gone about it. You either put, Lambert or Absher, since they both have extensive playing time, so far this year. One of them going to center would make a lot of sense. Maybe Sully can't snap. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea, what the case is there. I thought he played some center earlier on in his career, so maybe that's not a thing.
Well, he did in the spring. Absher did in the
Okay,
spring. So
maybe they're just not confident with him there. They like the rotation at guard right now. I don't know. But they, for whatever reason, they feel like this is the way to go, and this is what they're going to do.
Dustin in the YouTube chat says, a guy on social media told me I'm clueless because I didn't agree that Jagusah will be the left tackle when he returns. I mean, that is...
First of all, I don't like the name calling on social media. That's a little ridiculous.
He's obviously being,
right,
somewhat sarcastic.
I save it for personal text messages.
The tone of what he's trying to say here. Yeah.
It's
kind of like me giving you the business about Chris Ash.
Right.
Today.
Yeah. I save my personal insults for text messages. I try not to do it on social media, but it is not a foregone conclusion that Charles Jagusah is going to be at left tackle. When he came back from injury before, they didn't put him at left tackle. They put him at guard. So, Dustin, I'm not saying that that's not something I would want to do, because I think it is, but track record, man, I don't know, man. I don't know that they're going to be moving anybody out of the left tackle spot anytime soon.
Yeah. I like how we played that clip a couple of times and everyone's just reading into, what they want with Jagusah right now. It sounds like, again, we kind of have to read into it a little bit because Marcus Freeman didn't give us any definite kind of timeline. And that's, was part of the question. What's his prognosis looking like? Could he come back and make an impact this year? And, again, we're going, this is going to be, what is this now? This is going to be game 7 coming up, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Well, yes.
1, 2, 3. Yeah. So this is going to be game 7.
Yeah.
Then a bye week. And then you've got 5 weeks to go. And Marcus Freeman is essentially saying he's going to be back at some point. We don't know when. Well, you've got 5 games left after this week in the regular season. And then obviously you get into either bowl game or playoff at that point. It sure feels like end of, like playoff once again, just like last year. It, like listening to Marcus Freeman, it feels like playoff is probably going to be the best case scenario, playoff / bowl game, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
Does it feel like that to you?
At best, at this point. Like, maybe he comes back for the final game of the season or something along those lines. But like I said, the fact that he did not give any kind of timeline, whatsoever,
exactly,
is very, very, very telling. So
exactly.
I would be shocked if he comes back at all, to be perfectly honest with you.
Dustin back in the YouTube chat says, no, the guy was an a-hole. People attack you when you disagree. I understand you're saying he was an a-hole. I was saying that you were being somewhat sarcastic with your, comment about him, your initial comment, Dustin. We're on your side. You don't have to worry.
Oh, yeah. Because again, if I was in charge of the offensive line, that's exactly what I would do, is I would put Charles at left tackle.
Yeah.
But
just move him there right away.
I just don't feel like that's ever going to happen. That's all.
Right. There's a difference between what you want to happen,
correct,
and what's actually going to happen.
Yep.
Craig, thank you for the super chat in YouTube. He says, I think he's saying outing here. He said outing, probably a get spell check there. He says, I think outing at center with a week of practice, then 2 weeks off, we will be fine at center.
I don't want the offensive line to be fine. I want the offensive line to be good to great. Like, fine isn't good enough to be. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I don't want fine. He was fine on Saturday. It wasn't good. He was fine, but he wasn't good. So, but you're right, Craig. With more reps, a full week of practice and then 2 weeks in the I'm with you. I want it to be more than fine.
Yeah. I mean, everyone wants it to be. I didn't even see this. Jesse is in here. Jesse is watching from France, apparently. Play whoever is best at center and keep everyone in the same spots as best as possible.
And that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
The path of least resistance. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And there's some truth to that. Absolutely.
Is the path of least resistance also the path to the best upside? That's what we don't know right now.
Yeah.
That's what we've got to find out.
And when there's upside possibilities and all of that, is moving 2 to 3 guys from a different position into a new position in the middle of the season, is that advantageous for you? There's an argument to be made on both sides, right? So I get why they just want to affect the one position at the moment. I get that.
We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, Marcus Freeman also talked about the future of the Notre Dame Southern Cal series today.
Here we go.
We'll play a couple comments from Marcus Freeman about that. We've got other comments coming up as well. And again, in the second hour of the show, we're going to get into some officiating. And there's just a lot of different ways that we can go with this officiating stuff. I can't believe how bad it was Saturday. I don't think anyone can believe it.
2 weeks in a row.
I know. Brutal. We'll do that coming up next. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues with Vince D'Addario, Sean Stiers, talking about some of Marcus Freeman's comments from his press conference today. Jesse Stiers off for a second week due to honeymoon duties. Says he is listening live in the jacuzzi with champagne in hand in France.
I mean,
right now.
Okay.
Others take issue with why he would be doing that. Dustin says, Jesse, you know what the honeymoon entails, right? Spending your time at a podcast, not probably a recipe for the lovely Naomi to be very happy with him.
I mean, they've been obviously very together here for the last 10 days or so.
Yeah.
She might want a break. I mean, Jesse's a lot, Might
they
need a
called
break.
me from a swimming pool on my birthday last week.
So apparently he only communicates when he's in a body of water.
I guess so. Just don't drop the phone.
Yeah, no kidding.
Swan Dong says he misses the whiteboard. You and that listener from a few weeks back, we'll let you guys duke it out over who gets the whiteboard.
There might be a forfeit involved.
There might be. I noticed Jesse's not chiming in the chat anymore. So maybe
there's probably a reason for
maybe
that.
he got called out for a little bit too much listening to the show. All right. USC this Saturday could be the last time Notre Dame and USC play, at least for the foreseeable future. We don't know what's going to happen just yet. Marcus Freeman asked today at his press conference about the future of Notre Dame and USC.
No, our leadership administration and their leadership administration are talking to try to find a way to extend this rivalry. And so I'm confident it will be extended, but it's not. I don't have any proof that it's being extended right now, but I know there's discussions, and hopefully we can continue this great rivalry. Focus right now for me, obviously, is this one that we have. That's the only one that's guaranteed, and put everything we got into this one that we have.
Vince, I do want to say I appreciate the shade that Notre Dame likes to throw at Southern Cal, because if you've ever seen the media notes of Southern Cal, they always include in there, don't call it Southern Cal. So in everything that Notre Dame puts out, it says Southern Cal. In the game notes, it says Southern Cal. On the website, it says Southern Cal. On Marcus Freeman's press conference, Southern Cal. Marcus Freeman press conference, everything says Southern Cal. And I have to say, it's just a nice touch. It's a nice touch on this rivalry this week.
It's a beautiful thing. And I am all for just subtle, trolling and just subtle pettiness. I think is probably even better.
Good word for it. Yes.
Yeah, I'm here for it, man. I am here for it all the way. And
I knew you would like it. Yeah.
When any entity or whatever tells you what not to call them, what do you think is going to happen?
It's just like if you tell your kid, quit playing with the pudding. They're going to play with the pudding.
Don't push the button. Don't push that button.
Right.
What do you think is going to happen?
As soon as you walk out of the room, they're going to, yes.
I mean, come on. So yes, it's always going to be Southern Cal. From here on out, will always be that.
Oh, Jesse chiming in. Ooh. Naomi gave him the night off to roam free. A blind man could have officiated that NC State. Better.
See, he did watch the games. He did watch them.
I don't know.
But I think the Naomi gave me the night off to roam free is a synonym for she needed some space.
Probably so. There's only so much Jesse time you need. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
How confident are you that they're going to get a deal done and keep this series going at this point?
Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably sitting at about between a 7 and an 8, I think, because I do think there's a lot of pressure from both sides to get this done. It's not a one-sided thing. I think it started out maybe as a one-sided thing, or one side thought it was a one-sided thing, and then they realized real quick that it's not. And I do think that Southern Cal is getting a lot of pressure from boosters and fans and all of the above to make this happen. And you can kind of tell just based on the Lincoln Riley comments. Because at first he was like, all right, whatever. We got to do what's best for us, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, this is a great rivalry. I mean, he completely changed his tune. And I think that has a lot to do with what is going to eventually happen here.
Well, it was funny because when the question was asked today, Pete Sampson asked, Freeman the question, and he said something about mentioning it to Lincoln Riley at midfield when they talked before the game, and he said, "I'm only half joking about that." It's like, yeah, give him a little shot there, a little shot to the ribs.
Yeah,
when you do it as well. I mean, I think I'm probably at a 7 as well. The thing with me, what's interesting is you remember with all the Big Ten pushing the SEC to add a conference game to go to a 9th conference game. And so the SEC added their 9th conference game, but they not only did that, they also still have that stipulation about you've got to play a 10th Power 4 school. So you're not playing just your 9 conference games and a bunch of cream puffs in your non-conference. So the SEC has done that. The ACC has done that. And I believe the Big 12 has done that. The only conference remaining that is not requiring their conference members to play an extra game against a Power 4 team is the Big 10. So, like, if the Big 10 would do that, it would obviously give USC plenty of incentive to keep Notre Dame on the schedule. There should be enough incentive as it is. It's your longest rivalry. It's one of the greatest rivalries in the history of college football, in the history of college sports. It should be an incentive. So let's hope they don't back out of it. But it feels like if the Big Ten would just add that stipulation, it would almost lock it up. Then it's just a matter of, okay, are we playing front of the season, back of the season?
Right.
When we can play this? And that might be the biggest thing right now that's holding it up, is just like when they're going to play it. If Notre Dame is going to be able to have it at the front of the schedule because of the fact that you've got schedules that are playing so far in advance and all that kind of thing.
I mean, if they do that, then Penn State and IU are going to have to completely change their schedules because, they don't play Power 4 teams unless they're in the conference.
I'm sorry, but Penn State can't get out of its Big Ten schedule at this point. So
true. This is true.
They can only change so much.
But that, them going 3-0 is not a huge surprise to anybody. But
right.
them, not beating a Power 4 team since December is a bit of a surprise for some people.
That's just amazing when you think about it. Like how many Power 4 games Penn State has lost, and then, as Michael says, the tomato cans are there, and the 9 conference games. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean, should I remind you what IU played their first 3 games? Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. Like, saying. I
know, and Signetti, who was the loudest about it,
and they're canceling. Like, they're canceling Power 4 games so that they can add these non-Power 4 games. Like,
that's the way they want to do it. It gives them the best chance of being in the playoff every year.
Well, and obviously winning all your conference games doesn't hurt either. So obviously they're doing that. But yeah, it's just a bad look to me.
So Marcus Freeman was also asked today if he's had any involvement during the offseason in like this Notre Dame-USC continuing the series, trying to make an extension happen.
They asked my opinion. It's very clear. Let's continue this thing, and that's it. Like that, they handle the rest of it, right? As we, from Pete and Ron Paulus and our leadership, they'll handle the discussions with them. But they know the head coach of this football program desires to continue this rivalry, and it's not just because I'm at Notre Dame. Right, it's because I think it's great for college football. Right, I think the rivalry between Notre Dame and USC is a great rivalry and one of the best. And I think it's great for college football and the two institutions to continue this rivalry.
No gray area there.
Nope. No, he remains on record. Let's make this thing happen. Quit beating around the bush. Quit playing games. Quit dancing. Let's just make this happen. I don't think he could be less gray. Whereas on the other side, I don't know if it's come up so far out there in Southern Cal, and Lincoln Riley's had a chance to say anything about it today, but he has been a bit more Sugar Ray Leonard dancing around the ring with his responses for the most part.
I feel like that's Lincoln Riley in general. But yeah, he has definitely been more evasive about the rivalry and everything else. And honestly, I'm hoping that, after he's licking his wounds and they take this loss on Saturday, that one of the Notre Dame media gets, into that press conference and is like, hey, we doing this next year too? See what he has to say.
Everybody needs to settle down and stay on point in the chat. Jesse is trying to redirect and talking about the IU win over Oregon, and IM Tenzin wants credit for picking the win. Okay, that's great. These are all rapid fire items. There's a line item coming up in rapid fire. We've got those are all the, I guarantee you, James Franklin is going to come up in rapid fire. Kurt Signetti is going to come up in rapid fire. The officiating talk, that will come up in rapid fire. There's a lot of things. That's hour two. Like, let's stay on point though right now. We got Notre Dame-USC coming up this weekend. We've got one coach who's been trying to avoid keeping the series going. We've got another coach who's been pretty steadfast saying, let's make it happen. And the guy who's been saying, let's make it happen is, he works about 5 miles from where I'm sitting right now. So there's no doubt that Notre Dame wants to keep this series going. I just like you, I'm very hopeful that it's going to happen. It feels like we'll see what other things come up this week, but it feels like the more recent comments, like it's trending that it's going to happen, like it's more likely than not. But at the same time, it just sounds like there's some details that have got to be worked out to make it make sense for both sides.
I feel like overall this is going to happen. Like they've all kind of agreed, like we need to make this an extension. We need to get this figured out, but there are probably a few holdups when it comes to some of the details. That's where I'm at. And it just, who's going to blink, what that's going to look like, what kind of compromise are they going to come to? Because it's got to be good for both sides.
Exactly. We'll take one more timeout, then we'll come back. We'll talk a little Notre Dame defense. Defense coming to play for a second straight week. And Vince D'Addario's having T-shirts made right now. A big ash pile on the front of it, I think. So after the break, we've got some Notre Dame defense talk. It's coming up next. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues with Vince D'Addario. I'm Sean Stiers. Been talking a little Notre Dame-USC, some comments from Marcus Freeman from his press conference today. Josh in the YouTube chat says, well, as of right now, they're on the schedule for 2026. Curious who's the 12th team, though. That 2026 part of it, though, this is the last year of the Notre Dame-USC series that is guaranteed. The 26 part is in LA, and from what I understand, there is an out in USC's contract if they, chose to go that direction. So as of now, it's still scheduled, but could have the rug pulled from underneath you. Don't know yet.
But you're right, Josh. There is no 12th game right now, and a lot of people were speculating that was going to be Stanford, and I'm holding out hope that that's not the case. And so we'll see what happens. I'm also holding out hope that it's not like, a 1AA team or, an FCS team.
I mean, the later it goes,
I know,
like that, but
that's what worries me.
You have to work a little bit harder to find whatever you can to fill it up, and that's like we were talking about the playing 10 Power 4 opponents. Josh also said he bets Notre Dame would agree to playing 10 Power 4 opponents. I mean, if the college football playoff said you've got to do that as part of your minimal requirement to be involved, I'm sure Notre Dame would do it. They wouldn't have any problem with it.
I mean, generally they do it anyway.
The problem, though, is like what you ran into last year, where you ended up with a couple of MAC teams and two service academies because of the fact that you had to get your schedule filled out.
Well, that was because of Miami, and that there was all kinds of scheduling jostling.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so like some of that stuff ends up out of your control. And Archer 452 Rides Again says, get rid of the conference title games, require 10 Power 4 games. Might come to that. I think if the Big Ten had its way, they would end up getting rid of them. But again, what the Big Ten wants is a 16-team format so they can stage those play-in games, and get like there would still be a conference championship game, but there would be other games that would go along with it as well.
And
so
Irish Eyes wants Notre Dame to schedule Indiana. Well, guess what? They're on the schedule for 30 and 31. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're already on a future schedule.
It's not a team I would want on the schedule every year because look, I say whatever you want to say about Indiana. They're a good team this year. Do people actually, people that aren't IU people, do you actually think that IU has staying power where they're going to be an elite team year in and year out? That remains to be seen because you
don't know how long Signetti's staying around. I mean, there's obviously
listen, this is going to be a very interesting offseason. I will say that because there are going to be some jobs, I would think, that are going to be appealing to someone like Curt Signetti. Are you going to ride that IU train this whole time? Or are you going to go someplace else with some better facilities, better recruiting, all of the things, right? Are you going to be enticed by, because I know he's on record. It's why would I go anywhere else? It's IU. Well, you didn't have any options. Like IU was the only thing you had.
All right.
Of course, you're going to say that.
Save it.
All right.
Again, we've got it coming up in rapid fire. Right. I already know which direction you're going to go. So, based on the question that we've got in there. So
yeah, you may be wrong. We'll see.
All right.
You may be wrong.
We will. People are talking about Signetti's age. I mean,
how old is Saban?
I mean, Saban's in his 70s. There are plenty of coaches older than Signetti. I wouldn't feel I would, for a 64-year-old man who's coaching the way he is, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable giving him an 8-year contract for whatever. Like 72 is almost a spring chicken.
Seriously, I mean, look at Pete Carroll, for example. Yeah. He's out doing his thing in the NFL. I mean, there's plenty of older guys out there coaching.
Let's talk a little Notre Dame defense because they have continued to gain some momentum, as momentum was the key word last week. But Freeman talked about defensive improvement the last couple of games for his defense.
I thought what I really was pleased about was after the touchdown drive. It could have been, here we go again. It was the there were some adjustments, right? How we called the game, but it was like, hey, we're good. Let's. Here was the issues. We know what happened. Let's get them corrected, and let's go out there and play with confidence. And in the second half, the ability to take the ball away. I think we gave the ball to the offense twice inside the 20-yard line, and then you get a safety. Like now, those are explosives for defense. Right? Just like on offense, you're efficient, then you create an explosive play. When you're starting to take the ball away, you're starting to get safety, you're winning on third down. That's when it becomes a dominant performance. And so I wasn't talking as much about the yardage, but really the ability to dominate. That second half was really pleasing.
All right, Vince, what'd you think about the defense we saw against NC State Saturday?
This was a continuation of what we saw against Boise State. So, once is an aberration, two's a trend. Like I'm in on the defense as far as the way that they've been playing it. It looks like a Notre Dame defense. So I'm here for it. I think the defense is getting better and better now. And as long as they continue with this philosophy, obviously the game plan will change from game to game, but the philosophy has changed from the first few games to the last two. And
that's for sure.
As long as that stays intact, this team's going to be just fine.
That's absolutely right. We're seeing kind of a return to some stuff that we saw last year with just, more aggressiveness. Now, did we see, like the one score that they had, you obviously had some problems in coverage, but you also had Devontae Smith out of the game. So you had a freshman as talented as he is, Dallas Golden, he struggled on a couple of plays, and that ended up being the biggest play of the game for NC State. But other than that, they held NC State to nearly 27 points below their scoring average. You go back the week before against Boise State, 32 points below their average. Arkansas, they held them to 28 points below their average. And they have now, in 35 defensive series they've been on the field, they have 9 interceptions and have allowed just 4 touchdowns. That's pretty impressive. That's the trend that we wanted to see, and that's the trend that they're on right now. So regardless of who gets to take credit for it behind the scenes, whatever caused it, whatever pushed it in that direction, they're getting results, and results are all that matter right now.
I could care less how this came to fruition. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me whether it was Marcus Freeman, his hand, whether Mickens has a bigger say, whether Washington. I don't care. I don't care. The results on the field are what speak for themselves, and Notre Dame's playing really good defense right now, and I'm excited about it. Like it's finally time to be excited about Notre Dame's defense again, and I'm there now. Like I'm there. Shamrock's up, turning the corner, all of the things. Let's roll. The defense.
All right.
The defense is where it should be, and I think it continues to get better.
Vince is on board. That's all you need to know. How about tackling Tuesdays? That's a thing now.
Yeah, it's something that Coach Ash kind of maybe termed tackling Tuesday, but, it was just an emphasis at some point during the practice on Tuesdays, during individual period. Each group has to get a version of live tackling. Like we have to be very intentional about this period. We have to get live tackling. Like you only have a certain amount of individual time that you can work in practice, and the emphasis can only be on a couple things. You can't emphasize everything. And that was something early on this season that Coach Ash said, hey, we need to emphasize tackling more. We're not tackling well enough in the game, so the only way to really work on that is in practice. And that's just a great reflection of the things you emphasize in practice. You usually show up in the game, and I know a lot of people say, well, why don't you emphasize everything? Right? And you can't. You don't. There's just not enough time. What we got to continue to do is carry over maybe things that we aren't emphasizing every single day into the game, because you can only, if you're going to put an emphasis on something, there can only be a couple things. And we know we got to emphasize those things for this next opponent, but even the things that maybe we're not just only emphasizing that for the week, we got to make sure we're doing that on Saturdays too.
That was interesting. It's like you can't emphasize everything. That's literally part of the definition of being an emphasis, right? Is there has to be something you are prioritizing and making the emphasis. But tackling has definitely gotten better during this stretch as well, Vince, because it was borderline. I won't go to atrocious, but it was inconsistent at best early in the season. They were missing a lot of tackles, obviously, but they've been nearly lights out these last couple of games.
They've been a lot better. There's still room for improvement, but the problem is a lot of places, for a myriad of reasons, they just don't tackle in practice like they used to.
Do your kids get allowance, Vince?
No.
No, I don't give my kids money. Are you crazy?
No.
I was trying to think. Is that because they don't meet the perfection checklist in the D'Addario household? So they're like, no allowance is given until you are perfect.
They don't do jack around the house, so they get nothing.
Okay, that's fair. They're not earning it.
Not at all. Not at all. I had one kid, and we all know which one it is. He would go out and rake leaves and do stuff, and other people would give him money. I never gave him money. I'm too poor for that.
Why does that not surprise me?
Give myself money.
All right. Well, that is hour number 1. Hour number 2, we've got a slew of stuff coming up in rapid fire. We're going to dig in to the officiating. I asked Marcus Freeman about the whole process of sending those clips to the ACC or whatever conference for review. He talked a little bit about that. We're going to talk about what I think were the 3 most egregious blown calls in the Notre Dame-NC State game Saturday. We're going to get into that. We're also going to get into all the coaching stuff that went on over the weekend. James Franklin and, everything. There's just so much different stuff going on right now in college football. So that's all coming up in hour number 2, rapid fire, and Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. It's hour 2 of Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com, and that means, Vince, are you ready for rapid fire?
Whoa, hour 2, baby. Rapid fire. Here we go. Got some good stuff today.
It is
some
here.
Real good stuff. A little troll action potentially. I'm excited.
All right. I like it. Let's see where it goes. So let's talk about officiating, Vince. For the second straight week, the ACC crew that was working the Notre Dame game was brutal. Marcus Freeman said after the game that they send in clips of plays to the ACC office or whatever other conference the officiating crew comes from to have a look at. I asked him today what that process is like, how quickly they get a response, what the dialogue is like, how often, how quickly the feedback comes back, and how often they get, a response that says, hey, maybe we got this one wrong. So here's what Marcus Freeman said.
So, we usually get the response back by Wednesdays. But, it can be as black and white as saying we agree with why we called it and here's what we saw, or, no, you're right, we missed it, right? They own it. If they missed a call, they'll say they missed a call. And then some is, here's why we called it. We can understand where you're coming from, but here's why we called it. And there's got to be some human element to it too. It's not perfect, right? We want our officials to be perfect. They're not perfect. We want our players to be perfect, not perfect. But it's the dialogue and the clarification, I think, that's more important than anything, is the ability to say, hey, we got it right, and this is why we got it right, or we got it wrong, and we own it, and we're apologetic about it, and we'll try to be better. And so that's kind of how that dialogue goes.
It's interesting, Vince. You can't be perfect, but, I guess I think the ones that were magnified the most were the two, reviews that they did within just a few minutes of each other. You kind of do expect perfection there because you get to break down, like was Zapruder-esque, you get to break the whole thing down. So I don't know. What'd you think of what you heard from them, from Marcus Freeman, first of all?
Well, first of all, I appreciate that there is a dialogue there, that they even allow, teams to send in clips and be upset about calls and things like that. And it sounds like, and at least going off of what Marcus Freeman said, it sounds like there is a actual dialogue. They don't just put up a wall like, okay, you can send us your clips, but we're not going to do anything about it. It sounds like they do have a back and forth. My issue is that stuff should be public. They should have to publish that. Like,
I think so too.
You know what I mean? Like, there should be some public accountability.
Well, you do every once in a while. You'll hear like ACC reprimands officiating crew or whatever. That kind. But that's like worst case if it is really, really bad. I agree with what you're saying, and I think that there are times when a call is made. You don't hear about it, I don't think, as much in college football, where you'll hear like like a pool reporter will get to go ask, questions about a certain call, or, that was made or those kind of things. I think that whoever the crew chief is for every officiating crew should have to hold at least a 10-minute press conference after every game. Like not just answer to one person. You should have the cameras on you, and you should have to answer for the things that you and your crew did in that game.
Agreed. And if things go well, nobody's going to ask any questions, and you can go about your day.
Yeah.
If they go the way they've gone the last couple of games for Notre Dame, there's going to be some people asking some questions, and I think there should be. Again, it's about accountability, and we live in a world right now where there's not much accountability, and that bothers me in a lot of other areas, but it definitely bothers me here as well. Like, you make a mistake, own up to it. Be a man. Say you got it wrong. We're human, okay? Right. But to your point, with replay, you shouldn't be getting these calls wrong.
No.
You shouldn't be. It's right there.
There's zero excuse.
Yeah.
And Terry McAuley had the tweet about, like the fact that he could not believe that what was ruled a catch by Terrell Anderson was not overturned. Like he said that's, was like one of the worst things that he has ever seen. And it's like, I wonder what the over-under is on the number of times that they've gotten feedback from an AC officiating, like ACC officiating saying, we got a wrong call. It feels like the number would be pretty high, because At this point, it just feels like you could go get a blind squirrel who reads Braille and stick them in the booth, and they're going to do a better job at replay review than what we've seen the last few weeks.
The percentages will be probably better because it's a 50-50 shot on whether you get it right or wrong, and they've gotten it wrong way more times than they've gotten it right.
Yeah.
That's the problem. And it's embarrassing is what it is. Like, I understand, like, I get it if there's human error and you make mistakes, but that's why they have instituted replay.
I get it. Like, you don't see a holding call, you miss a pass interference, like those things are going to happen. Like, there are only so many officials, their eyes are, like missed calls like that are going to happen. But once you go and use the camera and you're looking at all these different angles, how can you butcher that so badly? I don't understand how you can butcher that so badly. And the three most egregious calls were, again, there was the no call on pass interference on CJ Carr's interception in the end zone. Well, not a no call, an overturn.
Yeah, they called it.
They threw a flag on the play and said pass interference. Then they conferred for a minute and they said there's no flag on the play. So there's that one there, on Malachi Fields in the end zone. There is the pass that was caught by Terrell Anderson that replay didn't reverse to an incomplete pass. That's the one Terry McCauley was tweeting about. And then there's the Christian Gray interception just a couple plays later that was called an incomplete pass because of an interception. So which of those three do you think, Vince, was the most egregious?
Man, honestly, it was the catch that was not overturned. That was the most egregious to me because it was the most obvious when they went to replay. Like 3/4 of the ball was on the ground and it was very clear.
And the ball was moving.
Correct. Like in no world, in no parallel universe where the rules are the same, is that a catch? Like that was so obvious that it wasn't a catch. I would say second would be the pass interference. The thing about pass interference is it is a judgment call. Like the catch or no catch, it's not a judgment call. It either is or it isn't, and that clearly wasn't. PI is a judgment call. Now, it was pass interference. I mean, we got the picture. We can show it to you.
Here's the picture. I'm putting it up in the YouTube stream right now. You can see the ball is in the air. There are three defenders there. One of them is wrapping his arms around Malachi Fields in the back of the end zone. That's obviously where the flag was initially thrown for pass interference. And then one of the, I think it's number 2 there, ends up getting the interception. And there's a flag in the end zone. They confer and they say, no, this is not pass interference. So it's not even the guy, this is textbook pass interference. And that's why this is the most egregious to me, because they threw a flag and then picked it up.
Yeah.
Because it's not even a guy who's making a play at the ball. In no world is he making a play on the ball. He is playing the receiver. His face is to the receiver. His back is to the ball. He wraps his arms around Malachi Fields, and then someone else makes the interception. In what world do you change? Do you guys get together and you say, no, that wasn't pass interference? Like, what's the case for that? That's why this is the worst to me, because they had to get together and talk about it and then picked up the flag.
It's very difficult for me to disagree with you on that part of it, because they had the right call and then without even replay or anything else overturned it essentially. And it was a big turning point in the game as far as, it went from being, a first down and Notre Dame keeping the ball to being an interception. I mean, that's just bad. And it was a 4th down, obviously. So it was just a very, 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 very bad call. And
Justin is saying, are they saying it was uncatchable? Well, the ball would have been catchable if Malachi Fields hadn't been interfered with.
100% it would have been catchable.
I mean, it was obviously catchable by somebody right in front of Malachi Fields. He wasn't permitted to make a play on the ball because he was interfered with, literally.
Which is the definition of pass interference. I mean, the guy left his feet in that picture. He is not on the ground. He has left his feet and is barreling his way through the receiver. That is textbook pass interference. He's not even on the ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's So, first you've got that, and then you had the Anderson catch that should have been overturned. And if you brought in someone who doesn't even know football and told them to look at that play and say, okay, I want you to look at this. Here's all you need to know. The ball can't hit the ground for it to be considered a catch. What do you think that person is going to say? Like,
I'm speechless when it comes to these calls because I just don't understand how you can make them. I don't like. I get the least egregious of them all was probably the Gray interception that they overturned or whatever.
That was one where
it looked an awful lot like an interception to me.
If it had been called an interception, I don't think you could overturn it. But again, based on what we saw on the Anderson catch, who knows what they actually would have called, because there was no clear like where exactly the ball was because of the camera angles. Like you just couldn't really see.
And that's why it's the least.
It sure looked like a catch because what you didn't see though, like on the Anderson catch, you saw that ball move as it hit the ground. What you never saw on any angle with Christian Gray is any ball movement.
Correct.
And that to me means his hands were underneath it and it was secured between his hands and his chest. And that's why you never saw any ball movement. Now, again, by the letter of instant replay, you probably can't overturn it as a result.
And it was called incomplete on the field.
Right. So you had to uphold it, but there's just no way that the Anderson catch should have stood. There's just how instant replay can look at that. And I guess we talked last week a little bit, Vince, about how the ACC in these conference games on ESPN, they're letting you inside the review process and letting you hear what they're talking about, what they're looking for, all these different things. Do you think this just needs to become mandatory across college football, where everyone is required to do this?
Again, the accountability piece. Like, I want to hear your thought process on this. And if you're going to get it wrong, I want to know why you think you're right. It's accountability. And then we can pick that argument apart. Like, I would have loved to hear the conversation that they had for the catch that wasn't a catch. Like, what are they looking at? Because like NBC paused it multiple times where it showed the ball laying on the ground. Like, what makes you what tells you that that's a catch? Because not only that, when you play it in slow motion, you see the ball moving around as well.
Well, yeah, you can see the tip of the ball is down, because like part of the ball is still on his hands, but the tip of the ball is on the ground and
like
it's
3/4 of the ball. Like it was it was way more than just the tip.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just don't know what the thought process was. So they called that a catch. They couldn't overturn it. They didn't have clear evidence. They couldn't overturn that. They called Christian Gray's an incompletion. Well, there wasn't enough evidence to overturn that. It's like being a coward. Like, you can go against the call on the field. It's okay.
Right.
But when it's correct.
And I think the accountability piece is the biggest thing. If you put this stuff on the TV screen and you make these guys accountable and you know that they're being scrutinized, I think that it makes them do their job better, because you cannot say that crew did their job well watching that game. Like, and it's all levels. It's the field crew for picking up a flag that was an obvious flag, the pass interference in the end zone, and then it's that review there. Like, those are like all levels. The guys on the field and the guys in the booth, none of them did their job well on Saturday.
So true. Ugly. It's just ugly, and it's embarrassing.
And to other people's points, this is not just an ACC thing. We're sitting here ripping this ACC crew, and they deserve to be. It was a different crew than the week before, but you saw an SEC crew had a really bad day in that Georgia-Auburn game, and all levels of football. You were just seeing very inconsistent officiating. We've talked about this before. Like a few years back, some of the top NFL officials started to retire. They kind of aged out, and they're doing different things, like Gene Steratore and McCauley and Pereira. Like, they're obviously all working in TV now rather than doing officiating. So like they moved out. And so what happens is you have like some of the better officials from college football move up And that also means that you've got the better officials from high school football probably moving up. And as a result, you also have, like at the grassroots level, you have fewer people wanting to be officials, basically because they get their butts chewed out all the time by parents and, coaches and everybody else, and they don't want to deal with it. So you just don't have the quality of officiating that we probably had 15 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, there's and the no accountability thing is tough. You know what I mean? It should be like, European soccer. There should be relegation and there should be promotion. And if you're doing a great job, you get promoted up. If you're not, you get relegated. And I also think there should be some financial implications here because these officials, it's not their real job. Like all these guys, the officiating is like their side job, right? So fine them. Let's fine them a little bit. You know what I mean? If you can't do your job well, what happens? You get fined.
Look, the guys, the players and the coaches, this is a 7-day-a-week thing for them, and it's almost year round now between spring football and summer workouts and everything
and
else.
Recruiting and everything.
I mean, but the players and coaches are putting it is their livelihood. They are putting everything into it. But like you said, for the officials, it's a side job where it's like, hey, I get to be around football or baseball or basketball or whatever, and I get to make a little bit of extra money. I get to travel around, whatever. Okay, well, how much work are they actually putting into it Monday through Friday, outside of when they show up on Saturday or Sunday or when their game happens to be? Because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of extra work going into this for them.
It's like being a weekend warrior. You know what I mean? Like, because I've known a couple of collegiate officials. They, like I said, they have regular day jobs, and then on the weekend they go and officiate. You know what I mean? Like, great job. Like, I would love to have that as a part-time job. Not that my current part-time job isn't fantastic, by the way, just in case anybody is listening. But no, I feel like there needs to be more accountability. And part of that is also, by the way, I do feel this way. Part of that's on the conferences. If you want this to be a priority for these officials, make them full-time. Make them full-time.
Yeah.
Because there's plenty of money to go around. I think we can all agree on that. To have a stable of officials for your conference. Make it a full-time job. Then that's all they're worried about, as opposed to being in the courtroom on a Friday and then hopping in a jet and going to, wherever to officiate a game.
Yeah.
Make them full-time.
I think that's kind of been something that a lot of people would have wanted to see for a long time. But
the NFL's not full-time either, Sean. And
I know.
They make really good money as officials. And a lot of them are lawyers and bankers.
Yeah, I mean, especially the guys who have been around for a long time, they make, more than the average American makes, at a day job just during the football season.
Yeah, absolutely. And they all have day jobs too, know? So make them that's their job. That's their job. Let's go.
We'll take a timeout. When we come back, James Franklin, Kurt Signetti, and more. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat and Rapid Fire. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues rapid fire in hour number 2 of the show, along with Vince D'Addario. I'm Sean Stiers. Vince, here's a quote from NC State quarterback C.J. Bailey after Saturday's loss to Notre Dame. We knew everything they were going to do. It's hard knowing that we knew what they were going to do. We knew how they were going to play us, and they did it, and we just couldn't execute. We killed ourselves the whole game. End quote from C.J. Bailey. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great attitude to have, to take back with you to North Carolina, but that's not what I saw on film. So there is a point to where, you know, like, for example, for the locals around here, right, since we're on the radio, I coached in South Bend for a very, very long time. And everybody that played against Penn High School for the last 30 years, 40 years, knew exactly what they were going to do.
You knew what they were going to do, but you couldn't stop it.
You couldn't stop it, right? Like, you just couldn't do it. And that is not what happened on Saturday. You know what I mean? They may think they have known what they were going to do defensively to NC State, but I just don't believe that. I believe that there was a lot of Notre Dame dictating how that game went on both sides of the football, especially in the second half. But look, I have no problem with him saying that, because that's the kind of attitude that you want to have. Like, look, we just got to clean up what we need to clean up, and we'll be fine moving forward. It's fine. You know, that's okay with him saying that. That's just not what I saw.
You punted 7 times. You threw 3 interceptions, and you also committed a safety. Do you commit a safety? You had a safety against you. You specifically, quarterback C.J. Bailey. You didn't look like you knew what was coming at you. Like,
correct.
It's one thing to say, like, they are who we thought they are and that whole thing, but
right.
That ain't what it looked like, my friend. That is not what it looked like by any means. No. And again, Notre Dame's, like, if you knew your offense was pretty good going into that game, it was something that had, I think, people on this side worried about. Would Notre Dame be able to keep that defensive thing going? Well, they did, and you didn't look like you knew what was coming at you. Otherwise, I don't think you would have thrown 3 interceptions against Notre Dame.
There was a lot of things that wouldn't have happened if you knew exactly what they were going to do every time. It's one thing when they've got better athletes and things. And look, Notre Dame did for the most part, in one-on-one matchups and things like that. They are the better roster. I don't think anybody's going to debate that unless they live in North Carolina. But you didn't know everything that they were going to do. I'm sorry. You didn't. And again, it's a great thing to take back home with you and prepare for your next game. But again, that's not what you or I or anybody else that watched that game saw.
No. Fill in the blank. Penn State firing James Franklin amidst a 3-game losing streak is blank.
It's a bit premature. I'll say that. I do think that firing him now is a bit premature. Maybe, first of all, his buyout is astronomical. Now, in college football these days, maybe that's not a big number to some people, but that's a massive number.
But I think this puts to rest, like, the notion that just because you've got a big buyout means you're safe.
That's fair. Fair. I've seen a lot of conspiracy theories as to, who was involved in this buyout and all of those different things, whether Adidas was involved.
I don't get the Adidas thing. I'm not connected, obviously, to anything at Penn State, but they're a Nike school for one. So I don't know what Adidas has to do.
They signed a new deal with Adidas.
Okay.
They signed a 10-year, $300 million deal with Adidas. But it doesn't start until July of 26.
So next summer.
Yeah.
So again, like, you could ride out a season. Okay.
I just don't know why that matters to Adidas. Like, James Franklin will always have them in the, they'll always be a 9-10 win team. Like, what more do you want, Adidas? You know what I mean? Well, yeah.
I guess they theoretically,
fair.
6 more to go. Theoretically, they could have gotten to 9, but you might want to, might have needed to beat a Power 4 school to accomplish that, which they haven't done so far this year.
No, they have not, and they still won't have it done by October 17th, by the way, so if anybody's keeping track. But I do think it was a little premature, though. And now, maybe they wanted to be in the running for, some big-name coaches and things like that, and they want to be able to pounce and get their search started and all of those things. But I hate to break it to you, you can start that search whether he's in the captain's chair or not.
Yeah, I mean,
so
you could have left him there and been
Yeah.
searching for your next guy and then fired him at the end of November.
Correct.
Because you weren't going to go to the playoff now. Like, that was out of the question. So you were going to go to some mid to lower tier bowl game at best. You could have done that at any point, like
Correct.
doing it now. And, like the thing about the buyout, kind of looking at some of the reporting on this and what his buyout is in particular. One, okay, yes, I think it was like a $47 million buyout, but it's also paid out over time.
Right.
And so part of that buyout as well is, okay, it works out to, I think, around $8 million a year if he, wouldn't have another job for X amount of years. But as soon as he gets another job, a lot of that buyout money goes away. That's not just for James Franklin, but that's for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
So like Franklin might sit out for a year or two, collect as much money as he can, and then get back in. And then in that case, he still gets some of that buyout money, but he doesn't get the full buyout money. But, again, like, I'm kind of curious to see like where these buyouts go in like how they structure both buyouts and contracts in the future, because look at how many jobs have already come open and we're only 6 weeks into the season. And it just feels like there is so much more pressure now with all that between revenue sharing and NIL and all this other money that's being pushed around. And, so maybe Adidas did have some influence on that because of, whatever money new money they're bringing in. But it's amazing. They were ranked number 2 in the nation 16 days ago, Vince. Yeah. And now they've lost 3 straight games and James Franklin doesn't have a job.
It is. That's why I'm saying it's premature. He did go to the playoff last year. He won games in the playoff. Like, he has brought Penn State to a place where they are competitive every year at a high level. They won the Big Ten championship not that long ago. Like, is it still true that he can't win big games? Sure. Okay. That's always been the knock on James Franklin, right? But you're still Penn State. And firing him in October like this, in early October, they think they're going to go out and get some massive name guy. And I just don't know that that's realistic, if we're being honest. I don't know. I just don't know. I guess we'll see. Maybe they've got somebody circled, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
One thing, Bill O'Brien obviously had the job before James Franklin, and you had to follow Joe Paterno, whose name was synonymous. Like, no one wanted that job. What's that been? 15, 16 years ago now at this point. Like, no one wanted that job at that point. And James Franklin did turn Penn State back into a perennial winner. Like, they were doing everything but winning the big games. And you can forgive even the Oregon loss. It was an overtime loss at home. Great game, great finish. Maybe not great game, but at least, great finish, overtime and all that kind of stuff. You can't forgive losing to UCLA and to Northwestern, especially when Northwestern is a home game.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Completely unforgivable. The worst loss the UCLA in the last 40 years, as it was pointed out to me last week. But here are Franklin's last 6 Power 4 wins. SMU, obviously in the college football playoff, so decent, but still SMU. Okay,
right. They were a group of 5 team about 10 minutes ago. So,
exactly.
I mean, there is
exactly, and that's my point.
Yeah,
so you got SMU, Maryland, Minnesota, Purdue, Washington, Wisconsin. Then, of course, they also beat Boise in the playoffs, but that's a group of 6 team. Those are their last 6 Power 4 wins. And then you tack on to that now that they haven't won since last December when they beat SMU in the playoffs. That was their last against a Power 4 team.
Yeah, they've beaten a Power 4 team in the year 2025, and we're in the middle of October.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a legit thing. Like, that's real.
Yeah. And a 4-game losing streak against Power 4 teams dating back to Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl.
If you were in the athletic director's chair, are you firing him now?
It sounds like he and the athletic director were not best friends.
So he was looking for a reason. Is what
you're
saying?
So like that relationship probably played into it. And when you lose these kind of games and you are starting, if maybe you're getting some extra pressure externally where money is attached, I can see why you make that move. Like,
Sure.
like it. And, let's be honest. Athletic director probably didn't like James Franklin complaining about travel any more than anybody else.
That's a great
like
call.
James Franklin complain, like things like that.
Yeah.
Like you're going to lose these games, and you're going to sit here and whine about the fact that you have to take a chartered flight out to Southern California. Like, come on, man.
It's funny because James Franklin's just not a very likable guy in general. I've heard from numerous people that have had to deal with him that he's just not a likable person. Like he never turns it off. Like that's always his personality. Like what you saw in the press conference prior to the Notre Dame Penn State game last year. Like that's him. Like that's James Franklin, and he never turns it off. I can see how that could wear on you really fast, especially if you're his boss and he's doing the things that he's doing. I could absolutely see that. And the parting of ways in that regard is not surprising. So, yeah, I could definitely see that.
Not in the least bit. Not in the least bit. We'll take our final time out of the show and then back with a couple more topics. Curt Signetti and Matt Rule included. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat, IrishBreakdown.com, and Rapid Fire continues next. Winding down Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com and Rapid Fire with Vince D'Addario. I'm Sean Stiers. Couple topics to sneak in here before we finish. Vince, fill in the blank. You feel blank about Curt Signetti after Indiana's win over formerly number 3, Oregon.
I feel like Curt Signetti still has the most punchable face in college football. And when he opens his mouth, it doesn't make it any better. But I will give credit to IU. They went out and they took care of business against Oregon. Like I would love to bang on IU. I would love to, say that they're punching above their weight class, all of those different things. They're undefeated, and they went out to Oregon and they beat Oregon. And I think that there's a conversation where we can discuss maybe who Oregon is and what their resume looks like, and that's fine.
We're going to turn the table on Oregon now. Okay,
I said there could be.
Okay,
but I'm going to give IU their flowers. They went out and they did what they needed to do.
Enough.
They're undefeated. They're ranked where they should be. More power to them. You better do what you can to hold on to your coach, though, because people are going to come for him.
Yeah, I mean, the team we were just talking about is most likely to come for him. Signetti's a Pittsburgh native, so he's not far from State College and Happy Valley and, like that whole area there. I mean, I tell you what, I am like right up there with you on the He-Man Curt Signetti haters club. Like
nice reference, by the way. Well played, little rascals.
There you go.
See?
He makes himself so unlikable, but Google him all you want, I guess. He obviously stuck his foot in his mouth before the Notre Dame playoff game last year. It came back to haunt him when he wanted to try to brag about all these ranked wins he had. But what does Curt Signetti have right now that James Franklin doesn't have in forever?
Yeah.
He's got a road win against a ranked team. Indiana was, I think, 0 for 46, I think it was, against ranked, top 5 teams on the road all time. Curt Signetti, second season. There he goes. He goes to Oregon and he picks up a massive win, and now his team's ranked number 3 in the nation. I do think that as much as we doubted the staying power because of the formula that Signetti used last year with all the transfers, bringing guys from James Mason with him to Indiana, all that stuff, he obviously doesn't have everybody still from James Madison, but I think he's got a better quarterback. He's got a more physical, better offensive line this year. He's got a better defense as well. Like he has built that team to beat teams like Penn State and to try to challenge teams like Ohio State. That they're a more physical and better team this year than last year. So as much as he is still not at the top of my list in terms of, guys you'd like to sit at a dinner party with, probably, because I mean, let's face it, he'd just be sitting there talking about himself all night and, telling you all the great things, that he's done in his life. And the guy is winning. I doubted it. Now he has a signature quality win. And the biggest question now is going to be, can he go to Penn State here in a few weeks and beat that Penn State team as well? Because in terms of regular season games, those were the 2 biggest games on his schedule probably this year. And he's got the first one. So
yeah,
a tip to him.
Oh, it's a hat tip to the whole program. It's a hat tip to him. I didn't think that formula was sustainable. And so far he's proven me wrong. And I'll admit it. So far I'm wrong in that regard. We'll see how sustainable it is. And I'm also very curious to see, okay, number one, is he going to stick around? Right. I think that's a legitimate question right now. And if he does not, what happens to this program? You know what I mean? Are they going to be able to bring somebody in that can sustain that success? Or are they going to be right back to, where they used to be? So is this a Curt Signetti thing? Is this an IU program thing? Oh,
I think it's definitely a Signetti thing because they've tried many, many coaches before, and they had dabbling success. Like when they had Penix, I think that was the COVID year when they had Penix, and it looked like, they had a little sparkle that year, and then that was kind of it. They've had a year here or there, but to go from year 1 college football playoff and now again, considering what Penn State has become and what is left of Indiana's schedule, Penn State is theoretically probably still has the best chance to hand Indiana a loss, unless they themselves have some kind of slip up along the way. They could easily run the table. They should end up in the Big Ten championship game this year.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, it could be another rematch between IU and Ohio State. And so IU would have a chance at redemption from what happened last year, obviously. But they got the Fighting Bruins of UCLA, who apparently can do no wrong since they fired their coach.
On a roll, baby. They've won 2 in a row now.
I'm just saying.
I know. Fill in the blank. It's blank that after beating Maryland 34-31, Nebraska head coach Matt Rule said the narrative that they're losing close games is over.
Yeah, it's not over. It might be silenced for 24 hours, but it certainly isn't over. And if you're going to be chalking up wins to Maryland to be dismissing trends, then dude, you're stretching. You're really stretching for some stuff here, man.
We're gonna hold up Maryland as our see we win close games. That's what you're gonna hold up, a win.
That game shouldn't have been close, Sean. It should not have been close at all.
And that's the thing, they're 5-1, so 5-1 is better what they've been the last couple of years. But I'm sorry. Like, a narrative does not end with one close win. Like, you have to do that a few times. And doing it against a team like Maryland, I'm sorry, you don't get to count that as your narrative ender. It's going to take a little bit more than that. But all of a sudden, maybe Nebraska works its way into the Big Ten race now.
Here we go.
Who knows?
Some new blood. I'm
just
here for
in time for Matt Rule to become a big hot candidate. I mean, both of these guys, Rule and Signetti, are both high on the list, apparently. I didn't realize I'd forgotten that Rule played at Penn State. Like, he had that Penn State connection.
And
so
he's got a connection to the AD too.
Yep, exactly. From I think back when they were at Temple together. So it's really interesting in terms of names that you've heard pop up. Curt Signetti makes complete sense. And, like you were talking about it, would he stay at IU? What are the resources like there? Would they, one thing Penn State has going on right now, and I think this again played into the James Franklin thing, they've got a 3-year, $700 million stadium renovation that's underway right now. So they're investing a lot of money in that. What's IU going to do in terms of facilities and those kind of things?
If they want to keep the current situation, they're going to have to invest not only a lot of money into the facilities, the program itself, the coaching staff, all of the above. They're going to have to sink a lot of money in there. So how badly does IU want it? That's going to be the question. And
from IU's perspective, I think, they only got to play in one playoff game last year, obviously, but you still get an extra cut of that playoff revenue by being there on top of, you still have conference distribution and that kind of stuff. But I think that basketball school is going to find out pretty quickly how much more money you make by being successful at football as opposed to the basketball history that they've got. So will they continue to make football a priority?
Yeah.
It's really what happens with Signetti, I think, is going to be really interesting because they did give him his chance. Is that going to be enough for him? That school that finally gave him his chance to show that he could do it on a big time level. Would he remain loyal to them, or would he make the jump for the first, really big, name signature name type program that comes along and tries to get him?
Right. Yeah, exactly. What are they going to, that's the other thing. What are these other schools potentially, if they want him to come, are going to throw at him? Very interested to see.
Exactly. All right. Notre Dame-USC coming up this Saturday, 7:30 kickoff at Notre Dame Stadium. That means a 4:00 game day show. I forgot to mention game day earlier today. That is coming up this Saturday. Of course, we'll have more on that throughout the week. Vince, enjoyed it as always. I will talk to you later, sir. We'll talk to you later. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.